Elise Ward had seen death before, but never like this. The third patient in 2 months had passed unexpectedly during a routine evening shift. No code called, no alarms tripped, and no warning signs flagged. When the family arrived, they found the room oddly serene with a tiny angel figurine resting on the bedside table. Elise did not remember placing it there, and none of the other nurses claimed to either. She tried to shake the feeling until she visited a former colleague for tea and spotted the same figurine on her mantel. Her friend's father had died last month under similar circumstances. The air tightened around her as pieces began fitting themselves without her consent. When Elise reviewed the facility logs, a name appeared that should not have been there, a temporary caregiver not on the official roster. The timestamp on their last shift matched the hour her patient died. She took a deep breath before dialing the number. The voice on the other end answered in a tone far too calm for what came next.
Like the video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel for daily crime cases we uncover. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update.
Elise Ward moved through the narrow hallway of the hospice home with practiced steps. The hall smelled faintly of antiseptic and lavender, a scent that had become far too familiar. Room 6 had gone silent, and that in itself was not unusual. But the sudden quiet, without a monitor warning or nurse alert, pulled at her instincts. She pushed open the door slowly. Mr. Harland was still, his eyes closed, hands folded neatly on the blanket. There was no struggle, no trace of discomfort, just a subtle peace that came too soon. Elise checked his vitals and confirmed what she already knew. The room was pristine, undisturbed. Except for one thing. On the nightstand sat a small angel figurine. Ivory white, wings curled, palms together in quiet prayer. Elise stared at it for a moment. It had not been there during her evening check-in. She would have remembered. She wrapped the figurine in a tissue and slipped it into her coat pocket before calling it in. The supervisor arrived, followed protocol, and recorded time of death as 9:53. Elise mentioned the figurine only once. Her supervisor shrugged, said it might have been brought by the family. But Elise knew they had not visited in 3 days. Back in the break room, she opened her notebook. 2 months ago, Mrs. Langley, age 86, had died during a night shift, peacefully. No irregularities, but her son had mentioned almost casually that he found a tiny angel near her pillow. Elise had dismissed it then. Now she underlined the name twice. A week later, Elise visited an old friend for tea. Her friend, also a nurse, had recently lost her father in a different care home across town. As they sat in the living room, Elise's eyes drifted to the fireplace mantel. There, next to a photo of the man smiling in a garden chair, stood the same ivory angel. Elise felt the chill before she realized she had stopped listening. Her friend followed her gaze and said, "Someone left it at the funeral home. We thought it was sweet." The next morning, Elise reviewed the hospice's internal logs. The charting system tracked caregiver rotations, medication administrations, and visitor sign-ins. She filtered through Mr. Harland's record and paused. There was a shift overlap the night he died. A temporary caregiver named Devin J. had been assigned for 2 hours. But when Elise checked the official roster, there was no one by that name listed with active credentials. She brought it up with her supervisor, who dismissed it as a clerical error. Maybe an agency fill-in, maybe a staffer logging in under the wrong profile. Elise pretended to agree. Then she copied the logs onto a flash drive and began compiling her own spreadsheet. 3 names, 3 homes, 3 unexplained deaths, 3 angels. She was not ready to contact the authorities. Not yet. She needed more. Later that week, Elise was speaking to the granddaughter of another resident, Mrs. Pierce. The girl was about 11 and had come in with a sketchbook and colored pencils. While Elise changed an IV bag, the girl said something that stopped her in place. "He was nice," she said. "The man with the white coat and the weird badge." Elise turned slowly. She asked her to describe him. "I did not know his name, but he gave Nana a candy and told me not to tell anyone." Elise knelt beside her and asked what the badge looked like. "It had a picture but no words," said the girl. "The name part was just blank white." Elise did not finish her shift that night. She locked the medication cabinet, excused herself for a break, and sat in her car staring at the dashboard. She had a feeling the angel of death was not done. And now, there was a child who had seen his face. Elise returned to work the next morning with a new sense of purpose. She carried a copy of the girl's sketch, a clumsy but sincere drawing of a tall man with square glasses and curly hair. The blank name badge had been shaded over like a ghost mark. Elise had placed it in a folder, separate from everything else. She was not sure who she would show it to, maybe no one, but she had to start somewhere. She began with the staffing agency list. Most temporary caregivers were vetted through 3 main companies in the region. Elise called each one, pretending to be confirming a shift replacement. None had anyone named Devin J. on record. Not in the past 6 months, not ever. Next, she contacted the front desk at a nearby hospice care branch. She asked for old rosters, citing a supposed audit. After enough hold music and one manager on lunch break, she received a PDF from earlier that year. There it was again. Devin J. listed for 1 overnight visit, 3 weeks before a patient passed unexpectedly. The family had reported no concerns. Elise circled the entry and compared it with the death log. The match was too close. In the quiet of the supply closet, she sent a message to Lena Holtz, a former nurse who had quit abruptly last spring. Elise had never asked why. Lena responded within an hour and agreed to meet for coffee. They met at a quiet diner off the highway. Elise kept her questions careful, her tone gentle. Lena hesitated, then admitted something odd. There was a man, yes. He filled in for 2 shifts, friendly but off. Always early, never spoke unless spoken to. And the name badge, it bothered her. He had no title on it. No position, just his face and a laminate shine. Elise pushed the sketch across the table. Lena stared, then slowly nodded. That is him. I only saw him twice, but that is the man. Elise left with her pulse hammering. Back at the hospice, she remembered something else. Mrs. Langley's family had installed a camera near the bed, a small motion-activated device hidden behind a plant. It had been a personal measure, not part of official monitoring. Elise called the son and explained she was reviewing patterns in care routines and asked if she could check the footage. He agreed and sent the files. The folders opened and Elise scanned through them. Early April, night of the death. But when she clicked on the files, they flickered and failed. Corrupted. Every file from that night unreadable. She sat back. Too many coincidences, too many blank spaces. She needed concrete data, something irrefutable. So she logged into the medication tracking system after hours, using a skeleton key code she had watched a supervisor enter once during a night shift. She filtered for Mr. Harland, checked vitals, prescriptions, dosages, then she saw it. A dose of morphine, logged at 10:15. Under the caregiver name, Devin J. Elise froze. Mr. Harland's time of death had been recorded as 9:53. That meant either the logging was wrong or someone had accessed the system after he was already dead. She double-checked. The system used biometric logins. Either the real Devin J. existed and was misusing credentials, or someone was bypassing the ID requirements entirely. She printed the record, locked it in her glove box, then deleted the login timestamp from the history. Elise was not ready to bring the evidence forward. Not yet. The system could be hacked. Mistakes could be explained. She needed a pattern too tight to ignore. She needed the next angel. Elise began her shifts with heightened awareness. She kept her phone in her pocket with the voice recorder app armed. Every medication tray she checked, every visitor she passed, every chart she reviewed, she logged it all. She was no longer just a nurse. She had become something closer to a hunter. She noted which patients were most vulnerable, those nearing end-of-life stages, those with minimal visitors, those in quiet corners of the facility. She cross-referenced staff schedules and rotated her own shifts when she could. 2 weeks passed with nothing. No figurines, no deaths outside expectation, no unfamiliar names. Then on a rainy Thursday afternoon, Mrs. Devon's, age 91, mild dementia, stable vitals, suddenly deteriorated. Elise found her unusually drowsy during rounds. Her breathing was slow, her pupils less responsive. Elise checked the medication log, no recent entries. She reviewed the visitor sign-in. Nothing odd, But a CNA mentioned a man who had stopped by that morning claiming to be from the agency just checking on backup shifts. Elise asked for a description. Tall, white coat, clean shoes, notepad. No name badge anyone remembered. She waited until her shift ended, then followed the CNA who had interacted with the man, hoping to trail her home and perhaps catch a second glimpse. The drive was uneventful: traffic lights, strip malls, side streets. But near a supermarket she spotted a man matching the description. She parked quickly, grabbed her coat, and walked after him. He entered the store, wandered briefly through the produce section, and then the pharmacy aisle. Elise stayed 3 paces behind, her heart ticking like a clock in her throat. He turned. Their eyes met, but something was wrong. He looked confused, said hello, asked if he had dropped something. His voice was high-pitched, uncertain, younger than she expected. His name tag read Jason. She asked where he worked. He said he was in medical device sales. Elise apologized, said he resembled someone she had worked with before. He smiled politely and walked away. Back in her car, she sat in silence. Wrong man, wrong track. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number, no message, just a text. He has not done, no punctuation, no context. She dialed back, line dead. She stared at the screen. The message had come exactly 3 minutes after she lost sight of the man in the store. She returned to the hospice under the pretense of retrieving her wallet. Walking through the dim hallway toward Mrs. Devon's room, she stopped cold. There, on the side table next to the sleeping woman not yet declared dead, rested an angel figurine. She stepped closer. Same ivory design, wings folded, hands clasped. She checked her pulse. It was racing. Mrs. Devon's was still alive, but barely. Elise tapped her cheek, checked her pupils again, and called in a rapid response. Nurses swarmed. A code gray was announced. Elise stepped back, her eyes locked on the figurine as chaos unfolded. She had arrived just in time. This time, the angel had not marked the end. It had warned of the moment. Someone had been in that room minutes before. Elise placed the angel figurine inside a clean evidence bag she had purchased online the week before. She handled it carefully, wearing gloves taken from the hospice supply room. It was not protocol, it was not official. But the system had failed to notice him, and she no longer trusted protocol. She examined it under a bright desk lamp at home. The surface was smooth ceramic, mass-produced. No visible markings on the base, no inscriptions. She used a cotton swab to test for any residue, unsure what she expected. There was nothing obvious, just a faint floral scent, something like chamomile or vanilla. That night she typed a message to a friend from college, now a freelance investigative journalist. She stripped it of patient names, stripped it of her own name, and included screenshots of medication logs, shift data, and the photo of the figurine. In the subject line, she wrote only, "If I disappear, start here." She hit send. The next morning, Elise drove to a local craft shop chain known for figurines and seasonal decor. She showed a picture of the angel to the clerk. The woman behind the counter nodded. They had carried it, a limited run from last fall, a clearance item by now. Elise asked to see transaction logs, but the clerk shook her head, not without a police request. Elise waited until shift change, returned with a hoodie and sunglasses, and approached a different clerk. This one younger, less guarded. She asked again. This time the girl let her see the paper logs, only cash purchases for the clearance bin. Elise took photos. 9 separate cash transactions for that angel model, all in the last 4 months, all within weeks of unexplained patient deaths. It was not proof, but it was momentum. She needed to force his hand. Elise spent the next night building a fake patient profile, a fictional woman with end-stage illness, no family, minimal staff interaction. She entered it into the hospice roster using a test profile template left on the admin server. She assigned herself as the primary nurse, added a dummy medication schedule. Then she waited. The figurine appeared 2 nights later, placed gently on the side table in room 9. The room had been left dark on purpose, unassigned. She checked the camera she had hidden inside a clock radio. This time it worked. The footage showed a tall figure in scrubs and a coat, moved confidently, no hesitation. He did not enter the room like someone unfamiliar. He moved like someone who belonged. As he turned to leave, the lens caught a sliver of his face just the side, a hint of a profile and glasses, but Elise recognized him. Not from the hospice, not from staff meetings, from a guest speaker session 3 years earlier, a volunteer coordinator who had spoken about dignity and end-of-life care. He had been charismatic, soft-voiced, memorable in his calmness. Elise dug up the event flyer. It listed a name, David Julian, not Devin, David, a rebranding. Close enough to confuse, she opened the nurse registry. No David Julian licensed. She searched hospice volunteer roles, nothing. She searched public records and found a man by that name once affiliated with a home care charity, but the listing was 5 years old. No current address. No employer, just a face she could now match. She had him, but she needed him to make one more mistake. Elise uploaded everything. The footage, the logs, the figurine photos, even a compressed timeline of her own notes. She routed the files through a secure drop link and sent them to the state licensing board with no signature. She sent the same package to her journalist friend, this time with a single added sentence. His name is David Julian. He is not done. For 48 hours nothing happened. No callbacks, no police visits, no headlines. Elise checked her inbox hourly, her nerves raw. On the third day, a single reply came from the licensing board. Thank you for your concern. This matter is under internal review. She stared at the words, under review. Someone out there was killing patients under the guise of comfort and going completely unnoticed. She could not wait for review, so she created another trap. This time she chose a different room, a real patient but one in stable condition. Mr. Bayless, mid-70s, recovering from a mild stroke, alert, talkative, and trusted Elise. She set the bait carefully. Updated his patient profile with a note flagging extreme vulnerability. No family, frequent overnight pain episodes, high morphine threshold. She included a forged visitor's schedule and made it appear as if the room had been overlooked for nighttime staffing. She planted a small tracking device under the mattress seam, a motion sensor with ping-back capability to her phone. She left the same clock radio cam in the room's corner. Then she waited. The next 2 nights were quiet. Nothing moved. No alerts. On the third night the sensor pinged. Motion detected. Elise raced back to the facility under the guise of responding to an emergency call. She arrived to find room 11 undisturbed. Mr. Bayless was asleep. No figurine, no signs of forced entry, but the motion sensor had been triggered. She checked the hallway cam. No entries logged. Then the real blow hit. As she walked past room 7, where Mrs. Pierce had been transferred temporarily, she noticed the door was slightly ajar. Inside, the lights were dimmed. The scent of lavender hung in the air, but there was no diffuser in that room. Mrs. Pierce was unconscious, her vitals slow. Elise reached for her pulse, shallow but still there. And on the tray beside the bed, where her water glass usually sat, rested another angel. Elise felt heat rush into her face. Her trap had been obvious, too obvious. He had chosen a different room, a real target. She moved fast, locked the floor doors, hit the staff emergency override to summon backup under the guise of a suspected gas leak. Then she returned to room 7 and turned on the cam feed. She scrubbed back through 30 minutes of footage and saw him. Same coat, same mask. His face turned away until the last moment when he placed the angel, and then he looked up. Right into the lens. He saw it. He saw her watching. He moved quickly toward the door and the feed cut. When police arrived 15 minutes later, he was gone. No footprints, no exit logs, no ID badge left behind. But there was one thing he had not taken. On the tray next to the angel was a folded slip of paper. Elise opened it with gloved hands. One sentence was scrawled in tidy block letters. "You care too much, that is how I knew." Elise stood across from 2 detectives in a narrow conference room, a thumb drive clutched in her hand. The footage was undeniable now, his face, the figurine, the exact moment he realized he was being watched. She told them everything. The false credentials, the doctored patient logs, the camera footage. The motion sensor, the staged profiles, the anonymous tip that was hers all along. She expected disbelief, pushback, maybe even professional consequences. Instead, they nodded, slowly, gravely. because what she did not know was that two other complaints had surfaced in the last month, one from a nursing home, one from a grieving daughter in another region. Neither had evidence strong enough to push forward, until now. The story broke within 48 hours. The press dubbed him the Angel of Death, borrowing the name he had hinted at in silence, one figurine at a time. David Julian's real name was unknown. He had used at least 4 aliases across 3 states. He had no active license, no fixed address. His background was a mosaic of hospice volunteer sign-ins, short-term contracts, and false documentation. Families began to come forward, describing unexplained losses. A man who always appeared helpful, serene, who said the right things about easing suffering, who slipped away without notice. Elise watched the news from her small apartment, alternating between numbness and nausea. She received calls from journalists, legal teams, even other nurses who had their own suspicions. One woman, a retired caregiver named Ruth, shared that she had reported David 5 years earlier, after a patient died in her care under strange conditions. But no one took her seriously. They had dismissed her as overworked, emotional. Now they were listening. The break came when authorities tracked a shipment of controlled medication, signed out under the name Devon J. at a hospice over 100 miles away. The signature was flagged in the system by a pharmacist who had seen the press coverage. They moved quickly. David Julian was found in the staff lounge of the facility, dressed in regulation scrubs, drinking coffee, preparing for an evening shift. The angel figurine was already in his bag. He did not resist. He asked only one thing: that they not use the name Elise Ward in the arrest affidavit. They did not honor that request. Elise stayed home the day the trial began. She had no need to watch him plead, no appetite for his calm explanations. She focused instead on closure. One weekend, she visited the cemeteries where 3 of the confirmed victims were buried. She placed an identical angel figurine on each grave, but with a red thread tied around the wrist of everyone. She did not say a word. As she walked back to her car, her phone buzzed. A new text. From a number she did not recognize, just 3 words: "He is finished." She turned off the screen and kept walking.
What are your thoughts on this case? Let us know in the comments. Like the video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel for daily crime cases we uncover. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Click here to watch the next video as we uncover another thrilling crime case.